let's have a coffee. Oh, I actually wasn't going to get on here this morning, but I figured why not? Why not? Maybe somebody's bored. I know how I feel when I'm waking up or when I'm sitting around bored and none of my people are putting any content on the internet. I know how that feels. It's so super boring. And then that little voice creeps up in the back of my head. Hey, why don't you put something on the internet then? There might be some other bored people out there, you know? I'm like, damn it. All right. All right, then. Okay. I know how it feels. I got people that I follow too, you know. And I'm right there with y'all. Sometimes I get addicted to their content. I'm like, when they gonna put a new video up, you know? And they'll go a day or two without doing it. And I'm like, damn it, I'm having withdrawals. And then that little voice comes up in the back of my head. Hey, man, people watch you too. You know, you can't be the same guy you're complaining about. I'm like, okay, anyway. That's a funny psychological conundrum I find myself in every now and then. Anyway, maybe we can talk about something interesting this morning, or maybe we can just talk about nothing important. I'm trying to find a lighter right now. I got this one, but it doesn't seem to want to work. Hang on. Let me try to refill it. I want to light some candles. Oh, it's pretty damn full. It's pretty full. Why ain't it working? It's pretty full. It won't work. Piece of crap. Oh, there it goes. Okay. I had to turn it down. The flame was turned up too high. Okay, cool. Getting my magician candle lit. Sets the mood, man. It sets the vibe, you know? Here I am chilling in the man cave while everybody's asleep. We're probably going to end up going on some kind of family adventure today. Didn't really do much yesterday. The girls had a soccer game yesterday, and they finally played a team that challenged them. They didn't win, though. Nobody won. They tied. I'm telling you, my girls, man, and I think I'm crossing my fingers that I found something good that they're passionate about, you know? See, when I was a kid, I was the same way. I kind of talked about this in one chat where they get that from me, and I get it from my dad's side of the family. It's this weird, kind of crazy intelligence where whenever you find something that you like, you know, my kids, if they don't like something, they are not going to do it. But if they are interested in something, they are the fucking best at whatever they do. And I was like that as a kid. You know, you could not force me to do anything that I didn't want to do. But if I liked something, I want to do that. I became the best at anything that I ever did. And I get that from my dad's side of the family. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to break this family curse that's been going in my bloodline for generations, where that gets focused in the wrong direction, where that intelligence gets focused towards the wrong thing, and people end up becoming criminals and drug addicts and just taking it down the wrong path. You know what I mean? So I was telling the coach yesterday, I was like, I don't know where this talent of theirs came from. We've been playing around with getting them into gymnastics and all this little stuff. And then Leah says, hey, I signed the girls up for soccer. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I didn't have any expectations. Didn't expect anything out of it. So, you know, I go and I'm watching them, and they just get out there on the field and they start taking names and kicking ass like they've been doing it their whole life. And I'm like, oh, shit. So they've been completely undefeated until yesterday. They finally played a team that showed them a little something, but they tied. So anyway, I'm rambling. We didn't do anything yesterday. We usually always go on some kind of family adventure on the weekends. And we didn't do anything yesterday, so we probably will today. Y'all probably end up seeing us downtown at one of the haunted houses or something, you know, because it's Halloween season now. And I'm decking the halls this Halloween season. Honestly, I mean, I know that's probably one of the things that's going to crash and burn. along with the new world that's coming in, you know, because it really doesn't have very good roots to it. Let's just put it that way. It doesn't have good roots to it at all. So there is a part of me that's like, yeah, but I'm not going there right now. But I am decking the halls this year because I mean it is like one of my favorite holidays. This sounds kind of cliche and corny when I say this, but the holiday times bring back the best memories of my childhood. You know, when I say childhood, I mean before I was a teenager. When I became a teenager, that's when everything started spiraling out of control. But up before I became a teenager, I had a good ass childhood, man. I was taken away from my parents, like I said. I didn't meet my mom until I was like 10. I didn't meet my dad until I was like 16. So I was taken away from my parents and I was raised by my grandparents. Man, they raised me good, man. They raised me good. They about as good of an upbringing as you could possibly give somebody. And the holidays, man, were always real cool. We're always awesome. That's when the family that I did have would all come together, and there throughout my childhood I have good memories as far as that goes. Really good. Really good. So I always, especially right around Christmas time, dude. Right around Christmas time, you know, when you go to the stores and you see all the Christmas decorations, you know, and then you hear the Christmas music playing and it just puts off that vibe. You know, I always get this fuzzy feeling inside. You know, it always gives me this, it reminds me back when I was a little kid, back in the 90s, you know, back in the 90s when that whole vibe was really, really heavy around Christmas time, you know. And I came from a place where it actually got really cold and snowed at Christmas time. It was nothing for it to be 20 degrees outside with 6 inches of snow on the ground. And over here, it's not quite like that. It's not quite like that, but so anyway, for this holiday season, we're definitely decking the halls. I'm getting, because you don't get to see this kind of stuff out here. This is Vegas, you know, so this is the best reminder that I can have of what time of year it is. You know, I got my little decorations that we get from like the craft stores and the at-home store and whatnot. And but when you go outside, it's all the leaves are still green. There's like, it's not only palm trees that we have here. There's a few different kinds of trees that survive in the desert, but they're like green all year round, you know? They're like evergreens. Yeah, and I got a big old huge, humongous pine tree in my front yard. I think I've shown y'all. I don't know if you can see it from here. It's right outside this window. That's up halfway through. That's a big ass pine tree. It's probably 50, 60 feet tall. It's huge, dude. It's huge. Big ass pine tree. It's like the biggest tree in the entire neighborhood. But anyway, I'm babbling. What are y'all up to, man? What are y'all up to? I love Christmas too. I love the vibe. Like I said, I know that the history of these things is a little bit tainted, the real history, but I still enjoy the vibe. And since we are still in the last little bits of that old earth that we'll be leaving behind, you know, that old world, we're in the last little bits of it. I want to enjoy it while it lasts, you know. I'm not going to turn back. I'm not going to turn back as the new things start unfolding. I'm not, you know, I'm going forward without looking back, but it does set off that vibe. That's one thing that was enjoyable about the good old 3D days was the holidays, you know. That makes sense? This conversation isn't getting too weird, is it? This is normal conversation in my house. You know, the good old 3D days. Good old 3D days, man. You know? Anyway, I think whenever Halloween's over, I can still keep some of these decorations. I'm just going to have to take down the spider webs and the pumpkins. I don't know if I can find like maybe a cornucopia or some shit to put on the wall or something. I don't know. For Thanksgiving. And then I'm really kind of curious as to what I'm going to do with this room here for Christmas. I'm really curious. I might go all out. And get a damn Christmas tree in here. That'd be cool. That would be cool. You know? This is my studio. This is one of the things that is so cool. Sometimes I step back and I just remember. I remember when my journey first began of manifesting big things in my life. I always wanted, you know, like my own studio, my own home studio. And when it came time to get this house, that was the last thing on my mind. That was the last thing on my mind. And that's how it works too. I wasn't even thinking about it, wasn't focused on it. My number one priority was to get a house big enough for me, Leah, the kids, and the cats. That's all I cared about. We were crammed in a little tiny apartment, and we were just looking for something bigger than a little tiny apartment. And it was right when the lockdowns first happened. You know, it was like right at the beginning of all that horse shit, and no place would approve us, no place would let us in for no reason. No reason. I mean, we had fucking money stacked up to the ceiling, good credit, no reason. Like, so finally, this was the only place that would let us in. And we didn't even get to see this house. We didn't even get to tour it until the day we moved in. We had already paid for everything, and they were fixing it up for us, and we hadn't even set foot inside this house, you know? So it's just really cool that I ended up getting a place with my own home studio, you know? So anyway, and Leah's got her own office too, downstairs. It's another good thing that universe put together for us to be like a power couple, you know? We're a power couple. We are together 24/7. We live together. We work together. We run the same business together. I can't think of anybody that could have played this part with me better than her, you know, because I just couldn't. So, but we're both humans. We're both humans. We need our alone time and our me time, you know? So her office is on the opposite end of the house downstairs, and mine's on this opposite end of the house upstairs. Her office is on the back of the house downstairs. Mine's on the front of the house upstairs. So we always get enough time, like if we're just around each other too much, like I just go upstairs and I'll hang out, and we're like, does that make sense? We can still have our space. We still have our space. You know what I mean? So it helps keep everything healthy, the vibe healthy, you know? So I don't know why I'm rambling about this. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just spitting out the first thoughts that come to my mind. Just spitting out the first thoughts that come to my mind. Mm-hmm. Yep, Astro Geek, that's right. I've lived under a bridge before. Hey, think back on it as a good thing. Think back on it as a good thing. Think about all the things that you learned from it. Think about all the experiences that you had. Man, I ain't gonna lie, dude. I know we've already talked about this. We've talked about it a million times, but I look back on it and I hold that memory very near and dear to my heart. I do. I look back on it and I hold that memory very near and dear to my heart. Living under a bridge and whatnot. Really wasn't that bad, man. I don't know if anybody's watching this that is from that area, but I was living in Jeffersonville, Indiana. Okay. So Jeffersonville, Indiana is right on the river to Louisville, Kentucky. So at the bottom of Indiana, where Indiana borders Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, the only thing separating the two is the Ohio River. Okay, and there's a bridge that goes across. Okay, and that little section of bridges where the highway starts to go from merging from Indiana across the river to Kentucky, I lived under one of those bridges, and I think they've torn it down now, but it was the Court Avenue Bridge. It was the Court Avenue Bridge in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And they were doing a lot of construction on those bridges, and they had built a totally new bridge that went across just right in there in that time frame. And if I remember correctly, I heard that the Court Avenue Bridge that I actually lived under got torn down, I think. But it was pretty fun. Like, it was right within like a 2 or 3 minute walk from, there was a Hardee's. There was a Hardee's and right next to a Thornton's gas station, you know? So there was that Thornton's gas station right there at exit 0. And yeah, there was a food source right there in their dumpster. So every morning we had the same routine. We would get up, we would go down and sit at the Hardee's. You know, my dad, his favorite routine at the time was to get up. You'd always go find him down at the Hardee's sitting there drinking coffee. You know, he would I don't know how he would get his little money for a coffee. He'd pay like $1 for a coffee or something like that. And they had that little outdoor seating area, and that's where we hung out. That's where we kicked it most of the time, you know? And it was just very interesting. It was very interesting. And it was a crazy, so it's hard to explain. It was this crazy period in my life where I was devastated. I was devastated, but I completely lost all control of my life, you know? I had completely lost all control of my life. So while I was devastated that I ended up in that position, at the same time, there was this other part of me that was like, well, finally it happened. You know, there was this other big part of me that was just like, just, you know what I mean? Like, if you can imagine how that feels, I think we all know how it feels to be scared of losing everything, you know? I think we're pretty much all familiar with that. There's a lot of people out there that feeling is what dictates every decision that they make. You know, why else would I force myself to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go work this bullshit ass job that I can't fucking stand, and I don't make any money, and then whenever I get my paycheck at the end of the week, there's barely enough to do anything with it, you know, and I keep repeating this over and over. Why else would I do that other than I'm so terrified of losing everything and going homeless? If I don't have anything. Well, my life was like spiraling out of control. It was spiraling and spiraling out of control, and I knew something deep in my soul knew that this was coming. And then when it finally happened, there was a big part of me that was like, well, I don't have to worry about that anymore. You know, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't have any responsibilities. It was pretty interesting to live for about 6 months. No responsibilities. It was something very liberating about, I don't know, man. I mean, even the littlest of things that society expects out of you, you ain't got to worry about none of that. Don't got to worry about none of that. I go wherever I want when I want to go there, do whatever I want when I want to do it. I don't have to answer to nobody. You know, I don't have to pay rent to the person that owns the bridge. I just sleep there whenever I want, or I don't, you know what I mean? I can't really put it into words as to how it felt, but I don't know. That was very, very necessary. And then from that point, though, see, everybody would always tell me, though, they would always approach me, you know, because there was a lot of people that lived on the streets for years, you know. Like I said yesterday, there was a homeless community. There was a lot of people that were living on the streets, and a great number of them had been there for years, and that was their lifestyle that they chose, and they didn't want to change that lifestyle. You know, they just go stand up by the highway and fly a sign, you know, homeless, please help, make 30, 40 bucks, go to the liquor store or the dope man or whatever and get their little high, and they had everything else they needed, and just jump in the trash can and grab you a sandwich or something, or go to one of the feedings at a church. They got food, got everything they need. You know, they didn't want to change that. But people would walk up to me and they would tell me, you don't belong here. You know, what are you doing on these streets, man? And I'm like, I ain't got no choice. I would tell people, I had no choice. You think I want to be here? And people would lecture me sometimes, like, you don't want to live this lifestyle. And I'm like, well, no shit. I'm not here because I want to. Because there was a lot of people that were living that lifestyle because they wanted to. They would openly, shamelessly tell you that. I don't want responsibilities. I like this, you know? And people would just always tell me, you don't belong here. You don't fit into this. I'm like, well, yeah, I know, but what am I gonna do? I don't know how to get up out of this. So there was that one day though that where it clicked. I remember I fell asleep and I said, this is it. This is it. I'm done. This is it. I'd made it all the way outside the Louisville city limits. I was trying to hitchhike to Florida and we got stuck out there at the Brooks Road exit. Just for those of you who are familiar with the area. For the rest of you, that's not going to mean anything. And we got stuck out there, and I just woke up one day and I said, this is it. This is it. I'm just going to start walking until I find something. And I did. I walked for about 10 hours. Walked for about 10 hours until I found a homeless shelter. And then, bada boom, it went from there, you know. But anyway, whoever that was that said they lived under a bridge and whatnot, well, I don't know what you think about it, but just as a reminder, don't hold on to that as something bad that happened to you. Don't hold on to that as something bad that happened to you. It happened for you. One of the things that my dad told me, and it didn't make sense. It made no sense whatsoever. But like I was saying yesterday, my biological father was homeless on those streets too. You know, I wasn't raised with him or around him. I didn't really honestly know him all that well. But he said, he said, boy, you've finally been blessed with nothing. Hang on just a second. He said, you've finally been blessed with nothing. And I thought, it's just some psychobabble, whatever. Whatever. I didn't understand what in the hell he was talking about. And it makes sense now. It makes sense now. It was a blessing. It was a blessing. I know you all hear people say this. I heard people say this, but you don't realize what you take for granted until you lose everything. And that was a very interesting, eye-opening revelation. This couch, just to have this couch is a fucking blessing, dude. You don't know what that feels like. Just to be able to take a shower is a blessing, dude. You don't realize what that's like until you go without being able to take a shower for a month, 2 months. It's a blessing. Just to have a mattress on the floor to sleep on is such a blessing. You don't realize that it's a blessing until you lose it, you know? So it was very, very necessary for me. Very necessary. Like I said, I hold that whole experience very near and dear to my heart. I don't know if anybody else sees it that way. I don't know. But anyway, though. Anyway, I'm babbling. Who's starting a homeless shelter? Descendant of Alexander Hamilton. Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. That's neato. Yep, that is. We're gonna need to really be getting on that. That we will have access to money to do things like that. I'm sure for those of you in the know, I'm not gonna drop too many names here on YouTube, but there is all the information out there where people who want to help will have access to a fund that will fund humanitarian projects. I got a couple of them in mind. I got a couple of things in mind, actually, you know. But yeah, we have to really, because that is a good thing to be able to help the homeless and whatnot, but there's a lot more that has to go into that kind of help. Okay, I don't know though how long most of you have been following me, but during my explanation, one of my lectures where I talk about the frequency of money and the energy of money, is I use homeless people as an example. Okay, and I'm only using money as one example. Everything else, love relationships, it all functions on the same base principle. But using money and homelessness as an example, homeless people aren't suffering from lack of money. Okay? Anytime that we want anything to manifest in our life, it's not the thing that will fix the problem. You see what I'm saying? The thing is a byproduct or manifestation of the frequency that we're on. Okay? Attraction is a secondary law. Attraction is a secondary law. Vibration is the primary law. Okay? Whatever frequency you vibrate at is what dictates what gets attracted into your life. So the money that we have, or the lack thereof, is a byproduct of the frequency that we are on. It won't fix the frequency. The manifestation doesn't fix the frequency. The manifestation is a result of the frequency. So with homelessness, it's not lack of money. It's not lack of things. It's not lack of a house. It's not lack of anything. That's the actual problem. Okay, the lack of money is manifested by the frequency. If you take 10 grand, I could take a stack of $10,000 right now, and I could go up under a bridge and give it to a homeless man. You think that's going to fix his problem? No. Oh, no, it's not. It could. It could. 10 grand is plenty of money to take anybody up off the streets, get them a little down payment on an apartment, cheap little apartment, fill their house up with food, you know, maybe go on OfferUp and get them a cheap little bed for a couple $100, cheap little sofa, get them a little cheap TV, you know, and get them a cheap little duty bean car for $1,500, fill their tank up with gas, plenty of gas to get back and forth looking for a job. 10 grand could easily take anybody out from under a bridge and get their life on the right track if that was the frequency they were on. But if you walk up to a homeless man and just surprise him with $10,000, the frequency he is on, he's going to take that 10 grand and he's going to throw a party under the bridge and end up right back where he was to begin with. Okay, so what we need to do is we don't just need to help the homeless people with the things that they want. We need to help them reprogram their frequency to be on a frequency of abundance. And that's incredibly fucking hard to do. It's incredibly hard to do. You have to want it. You have to want to do it. You know, you have to want it. I'm living proof. I'm living proof. And I didn't know anything about any of this. And it's just so funny how it all lined up for me too, because it wasn't until, let's see, that was December. So right around, about a month or so, 2 months max. I don't even think it was a full 2 months, but let's say 2 months. After I turned myself into a homeless shelter and I had acquired a free government issued Obama phone. You remember Obama phones? You remember those? They would set up the little tents all over the city, you know, free phone. And they called them Obama phones because if you could go and prove that you were on Obamacare or whatever their little government assistance was, and you could prove it, and they'd ask you how many people are in your household, what's your income, do you have food stamps, let me see the card, they'd give you a free phone. They would, and it would reload itself with like 200 minutes every month. So that's what I did. I got me one of those because I was on food stamps and whatnot. And I got me one of those, and I was sitting in McDonald's one day, playing around on YouTube, and I was researching near-death experiences. You know, I would go up there. The little girl that worked at McDonald's had a crush on me, so she would give me a little free shit, you know, and she would sit there and talk to me and whatnot. So I was drinking probably a Mellow Yellow or something like that, playing around on YouTube with my earbuds, and I accidentally found a video about the law of attraction, and I had never heard of it. And the video was titled, "I Saw the Law of Attraction in My NDE." That's what the title, you can look it up, it's still on YouTube. And it's by a lady named Terry Rose, Terrirose, Terry Rose. And it's just a short little like 4 or 5 minute video, but I had never heard of this. I remember very, very vividly seeing that law of attraction. I've been studying near-death experiences for a couple of years now, and I've never heard this. What does that mean? And I remember kind of trying to think of a couple of things that might mean, but I clicked on the video, that it was a wrap. It was over from that point, dude. It was over. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What? Are you kidding me? Are you serious? This is really a thing? You mean I can take this situation that I'm in and that I've been in, and I can flip it on its head and manifest a life that is beyond anything in my wildest dreams? Are you serious? That's possible? Watch me. Watch me. That's what I said. Now, I dedicated my life. Watch me. You know? So you have to want it. You have to want it. You know, you can't make anybody do it. You really have to want it. The problem is, though, is that a lot of the people who are in those kind of situations don't realize it, but there's a lot. I have met more people than not who actually get addicted to rock bottom. They get addicted to it. They get addicted to it. And if you got somebody who is addicted to rock bottom, addicted to sympathy, they get addicted to the sympathy, poor me, poor pitiful me, boo-hoo me, poor me, poor. They get addicted to that. And when you got people who are addicted to that, it's incredibly fucking difficult. It's incredibly difficult to tell them to get up out of it, you know? It's incredibly difficult because they have based their entire identity. They base their entire identity on, this is who I am. I am this way because this thing happened to me. You know, like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, I am this way because this thing happened to me 9 years ago. And I've been living one big, long emotional response ever since then. You know? And when you get people who are just desperately cling to, you know, that rock bottom being their identity, there's only so much you can do. Only so much. Only so much you can do. And I'm not saying don't help them, by the way. I'm not saying don't help the homeless. I'm not saying don't help people who are in need. But just be very aware that there's only so much help that you can provide. They have to want to do it. They have to want it. But here's the thing, and I talked to Coach Drew about this a lot too, you know. What is that one thing that I could say that makes it click? What's that one thing that I could say? Because you know what the biggest problem is with most people? They don't believe it's possible. Your average person does not believe it's possible to go from wherever they are right now to a life beyond their wildest dreams, to make money that they never dreamed of making, to be in the relationship that they never thought possible. Your average person doesn't even believe that that's possible for them. And if they don't believe that's the key. So what is it? That's my number one goal. Every time I come on camera, that's always in the pit of my soul. How can I say that one thing that makes it click? You know, that makes it, I believe. That makes you believe, you know what I mean? That triggers that thing in you to where, like I did, where I said, watch me. But I was just at a place in life where, like I said, everything had been stripped away from me. Everything that I thought I knew had crumbled to the ground. You know, who I thought I was had been ripped. So I had nothing left to lose. I had nothing left. I was very, very liberated. And when you hit rock bottom, you know, like where I was at a place where, why not? Why not? What's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to lose everything. I ain't got nothing to lose. My entire outfit that I'm wearing was given to me from donations, you know, donated to me for, you know, homeless. What do I have to lose? What do I have to lose? I mean, where I was in life, there's nothing, like literally nothing left to lose. Why not? What would it hurt? What would it hurt to at least try to rearrange my own brain? What would it hurt to at least try to become somebody different, to completely transform who I am as a person? I felt like it was an opportunity. I felt like I had a golden opportunity. You know, most of us have a reputation to uphold, you know. Well, man, I mean, if I start changing my beliefs, what will they think? What will everybody else think that knows that I believe this way? Then what will everybody think about me, you know? There are so many reasons why we cling to the identity that we are, and we have to be able to give that up. Okay? Talking somebody into giving up their identity is not an easy task. It's not an easy task at all. But lucky for me, I was blessed with nothing. Universe ripped my identity away from me. You know, ripped everything from me. So not everybody else sees it that way, I don't think, you know. Not everybody else sees it that way. And I mean, there's a lot of entities here too who came here to experience those types of experiences, you know. That entity, that soul wanted to come here and experience what it's like to be homeless, to be strung out on drugs and all this, you know. So anyway, just as a little reminder, yes, absolutely help the homeless, but just know that there's a lot more help that goes into it than, I don't really know if there are any organizations out there that have actually taken it that far, you know. There's lots of homeless programs out there, homeless outreach programs, shelters that provide food, that provide clothing, that provide a place to sleep. But what about helping people reprogram their frequency? You know, because at the end of the day, if you don't reprogram your frequency, you're never going to really, truly, fully be able to get out of that experience and really get to experience everything that life has to offer. How do we get people, homeless people, and people who are really down and out, how do we get them on the frequency of abundance? See what I'm saying? That's what I would like to do. That's what I would really, really like to do. You know, I got to get you on the frequency of abundance. I got to get you to believe that it's possible. Do you believe it's possible to go from living in a homeless shelter, living under a bridge, to being this big, successful 6-figure, 7-figure earner in a perfect relationship? And do you believe that that's possible? If you don't believe it's possible, I'm sorry, it won't be. Universe will not hand it to you if you don't believe it's possible. Period. Period. So if we're in that mentality of, well, I'll believe it's possible when I see the evidence. It don't work that way. It does not work that way. The universe hands you evidence that supports what you believe, not the other way around. Not the other way around. Okay? And here, let me just give you this one. I know at least one person needs to hear this. Let me just give you this. Remember, a belief is a thought that you think over and over and over until it burns itself into your subconscious mind. That's what a belief is. So play with this. I know there's at least one of you out there that doesn't even believe it's possible. Yeah, right. Yeah, Rich, you're just special. You know, oh, you're just, you know, they want to put a title on me like I'm something special, like, you know. Okay, well, let me just leave you with this one then. How about I challenge you, I dare you to start telling yourself it is possible. It is possible. I am good enough. I do deserve the kind of money that I want. And when you first start telling yourself that, it's not going to feel right. It's going to feel real. You're going to be battling a voice in there. There's this other voice, the main paradigm, the main program that's running in your subconscious is going to start arguing with you. It's going to start saying, no, it's not possible. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You know, you didn't graduate high school, or you're too young, or you're too old, or you're too fat, or you're not pretty enough, or something. It's going to come up with some kind of excuse as to why it's not possible for you. I challenge you to battle that voice until it shuts up. I challenge you. I dare you. I am good enough. I am pretty enough. I am handsome enough. I am successful enough. I am worthy of it. Just tell yourself that. And it might take 6 months. That's what it took me. It took me about 6 months. It took me about 6 months of repeating that to myself all day long until I started to believe it. Until I really started to feel like I do believe it's possible. Like I'm no longer forcing that thought. I'm no longer having to have a battle. It's not a battle in my mind anymore. I really do honestly believe that I am good enough. All those little beliefs about like guilt. You know, a lot of people feel guilty, like I'm not worthy. No, I'm not worthy of making $500,000 a year. That would make me a bad person. All those beliefs will start to unwire themselves. And you'll start to see that what created the lack was shackles that you had on yourself, in your mind, you know? So that's what I would really like to do. I think that'd be cool. Yes, we are all worthy. Absolutely. Yes, we show is. Yes, we show is the only thing. The only thing. And I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound insensitive, but I don't care. I don't care what you've been through. I don't care what you're going through. You are worthy. It is possible. Okay? And I'm not here to downplay anything that anybody's been through. I'm not here to say that your experience is invalid. I'm not here saying that your feelings are invalid or that you didn't experience some trauma. You know, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that doesn't define who you are unless you let it. It's up to you. You know, it's up to you. I mean, I love that example. You know, and I see a meme like on social media sometimes, and it says something to the effect of, there were two brothers. Y'all know what I'm talking about? There was two brothers. One of them never, ever, ever touched a drink in his life. And somebody said, why don't you drink? And he said, because my dad was an alcoholic and he beat my mom. The other brother turned into a blithering fucking alcoholic. And they say, why do you drink so much? Because my dad was an alcoholic. And he beat my mom. You see what I'm saying? You get what I'm coming from here? You're the one that does it. It's up to you. It's up to your perception. You have to change your perception. See what I'm saying? And that, to me, is fun. I love it. It's fun, dude. It's actually fun. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. And especially first starting off, it's uncomfortable. When you first start off like this is I'm the same person that I've been my whole life. You know, when you're at that stage, like, how do I change who I am? And you're basically just a product of everything that you have experienced from the minute you're born, and you've never done anything to change it, you know? When you very first start off, it's uncomfortable, and it's weird, and it's icky and funky. And then when it starts producing the changes in your life, and you start seeing this works, that's when it gets fun. That's when it gets addictive, dude. It gets addictive. What else can I change just by changing me? What else can I transform in my life just by unwiring a belief system or rewiring a new belief system? What else can I transform? It gets addictive, dude. It gets addictive, and it's a never-ending process. It's not like one of these days you cross this finish line and you're like, I have arrived. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. And you know what? You don't want it to happen. You don't want that to happen because the journey is fun. You'll begin to realize, just wait. I know there's one person out there watching this right now. Just wait. You know, like there's somebody out there right now watching this and you're broke, don't have nothing, life sucks, relationship life sucks, everything in life sucks, you know? And there's this idea in your mind that one of these days, you know, you're going to have so much abundance in all areas and aspects in your life. And right now you're thinking that when that day comes, that I'm making 500 grand a year and I'm with my life partner and I have my family, then I'm going to kick my feet back and I have arrived. I guarantee you. And watch, once you get all those things, you're going to realize, now what? Now what? You know, always say that to yourself. Always say, and then what? You know, man, I wish I had money. Okay, imagine that you have money. Then what? Then I won't be so stressed out. Then what? Like seriously, always put okay, then what? After every little thing that we think that we want. And you'll start to realize that it's the journey. It's the journey of transformation, not the transformation itself. Because in order to equalize the frequency of anything that you want, being on the frequency of something, take something that you already have. Something that you already have, like a car. Most of you probably own a car. If it's not a car, take something else. The house that you live in. Anything, doesn't matter what it is. What does it feel like to own that car? Yeah, the car that's sitting out in the driveway right now, what's it feel like? I mean, I don't really think about it. Exactly. That's where you have to be. That's where you have to be with the money that you make, you know? What does it feel like to make 500,000 a year? What's that feel like? I don't really think about it. Exactly. What's it feel like? Like honestly, trying to think of the word, man. It's right on the tip of my tongue. We got one more day of Mercury retrograde, so I'm really struggling to put it all into words right now. But in order to equalize the frequency of anything that you want to manifest, you're going to be at a vibration of, okay, well, I don't really think about it. In order to equalize it, you have to be at a place mentally where it's not that big of a deal. It's natural. You know, it's something that I don't really think about all the time. It's part of me. It's naturally part of who I am and part of my life. You know, when we're on that frequency of, oh, I want that, you know, that feeling, it simmers down a little bit into it's no big deal, I guess. I'll never forget when I made my first 100,000. I'll never forget that. That was my goal, you know. Back when I was on my manifestation journey, I thought, man, I'll be set as soon as I make 100 grand a year. I'll never forget making my first 100 grand, dude. I was like, there's no way, dude. That's it? You know? Oh, come on, man. All right, how about 200 grand? And it took me a while to realize, damn, you're never going to get to that point where it's like, I have arrived. It doesn't work that way. Nope. I don't remember the landing point that I had for that little speech there, but anyway, hopefully at least one person hears that and transforms their life with it. That's my goal. Anyway. Let's see here. What else can you do? As far as what, Enchanted Cottage? As far as manifestation? You have to allow the universe to bring it to you. Here's another thing that I do, okay? And this is to get out of the mentality of, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? Because we gotta get out of that. You gotta get out of that. You have to get out of that, okay? And that's hard. That's tricky. So here's another one of the things that I do. Whatever happens from now until the point that this manifestation happens is part of the journey. Everything that happens. And every little thing that I experience, like back when I was building businesses, you know, before I'd ever heard of YouTube Tarot, and I very first started, all right, I'm going to build me an online business. You know, I would put myself imagining in the future being successful, looking back on this like that was part of the journey. I was constantly thinking in the future. You know, one of those businesses crashes and burns. I didn't think, oh man, it's over, I'll never be successful. That's not what I was thinking. What I was thinking was, okay, I'm picturing myself in the future looking back on this as if it was part of the journey. Whenever I make my mind up that this is what I'm manifesting, period, end of discussion. There is nothing that can happen that'll change my outlook on that. Let's say all right, well, my goal is to make 10 million a year, okay? Let's say that I don't really have a financial goal now, and not anymore, but let's say, for example, I said to myself today, all right, my goal is to make 10 million a year. And then tomorrow, YouTube was to crash. YouTube was to completely crash and burn, and I would be without anything to do to make money. I wouldn't be thinking, oh my God, my manifestation's never gonna happen. I would immediately be in the future, looking back, telling the story about how I made 10 million a year and how that was part of the story. See what I'm saying? You always gotta be in the future. You have to connect to that thing out there. You have to connect to it. It's out there. Me making 10 million a year is out there. It exists. I have to connect with it. And I have to live where it already exists. And in doing that, I'm looking back on what I'm currently experiencing now, and I'm telling the story about how this was part of the process. So all right, I'm gonna make 10 million a year. Then I wake up tomorrow, YouTube crashed, and it doesn't exist anymore. You know, I'm thinking, oh, okay, cool. And I'm picturing myself saying, all right, so when I very first set off on my journey to make 10 million a year, YouTube crashed and it scared the shit out of me. And I'm telling that story as if it was part of the journey. This is how we connect to the manifestation that's out there and start pulling the timelines forward, okay? It's a mentality. Success is a mentality, and that mentality is how you respond to challenges and obstacles, okay? The failures mentality, when something like that happens, they go, oh man, it's over for me. All right, it's just over, I give up, and then they give up and they quit. Nobody fails. The only people who fail, they didn't really fail, they quit. They quit, they gave up. Everything that happens is part of the journey. See what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I may not be explaining things in the most easy to understand terms right now, but it's all in your perception, okay? And I know you've probably heard that, but that's how it works. You know, that's how it works. How do I perceive? How do I change my perception? That's how you do it. You choose to perceive a challenge as a good thing. It's just part of the process. It's part of the journey. Does that make sense? I hope so. I hope so. You know that my goal is to be able to explain things in a way that people understand. To be able to explain things in a way that people understand. It's all in your perception. It's all in your perception. That's how you create your reality, with your perception. And it sucks too, because that's how powerful and creative you are. So if you choose to perceive something like that as being a failure, you're absolutely right. That's what it'll be. Damn it. There we go. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, we're talking about some good stuff this morning, ain't we? Talking about some good stuff. Man, I done been babbling so damn long, it's almost time for me to get out of here. Yeah, oh yeah, you don't want to be in your comfort zone, that's for sure. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Dude, you can't keep a lid on your mouth. I know that's a big fire sign thing. That's a big fire sign thing. How do you do it? I mean, you probably have to ask Leah. She could explain it better than you. She's a Sagittarius and she has that same problem. She's a Saggy, you know. As soon as a thought pops into my head, it has to fall out of my mouth, you know. And she's been getting really good at least thinking, what's going to happen if I say this? And that's one of the big things she's been working on. I'm proud of her, dude. I'm proud of her, you know. But as far as actually how to do it, I don't really know. I don't know. It's a big Aries and Saggy thing. You know, I just throw my opinion at you, you know, and half the time, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. Sometimes I'll run my mouth before I even know the full story and make myself look stupid. But as far as how, I don't really know, because I'm an Aquarius. So that is not a challenge that I've ever really had to overcome too much, because that kind of, with somebody like me with an air sign, that's kind of the way we are by default. You know, like, unless I'm just really angry and don't care. Unless I'm really angry and don't care, which is very rare, very, very rare. I'm always thinking about before something comes out of my mouth, I'm playing the scenario of what's going to happen. How are you going to respond to what I'm about to say, you know? So that for me is kind of like natural. So as far as overcoming it as a challenge, I couldn't really honestly give you any tips on that, because it's not really a challenge I've ever really had to work to overcome. One of these days I'm gonna get Leah back on here. She hasn't been on here and chatted in a while. She could help. And she was just telling me the other day. She's telling me the other day, babe, I hope you're proud of me. I was like, what do you mean? She goes, I've really been working on not saying things that I know are gonna start an argument, you know? And I was like, okay, well, that's cool. That's cool. I appreciate you. You know? So it's a big fire sign thing, you know? But like for air signs, one of our biggest challenges, especially as an Aquarius, is like exactly the opposite. How do I actually express how I feel? See, air and fire are mirror image reflections. They're opposite energies, okay? Fire signs, like, you know, they have this, they can't feel anything without wearing it on them, you know? Like Leah, oh man. And it's a blessing at the same time too, you know? Because at least I'm never in the dark about how she feels. Never in the dark about how she feels. If she feels something, you gonna know. If she has an opinion, you gonna know. Whether you wanna know or not, you're gonna know how she feels. So that's a blessing. I'm never having to wonder how she feels, you know? But like me, one of my big challenges is the opposite of that. When I have feelings and I'm feeling some type of way, how do I express it? I have the opposite problem. How do I actually express what's going on inside of me? How do I take the lid off my mouth and actually speak my mind? You know, that's the thing that I've really been working on. Like, so it's the opposite. And just putting myself in a really uncomfortable position and forcing myself to do it over and over and over. You know, probably, and I would imagine it's probably the same thing with the opposite, you know? Like, because to me, it's always been really, really uncomfortable to really, truly express physically how I'm feeling and my emotions, you know? So I just start doing it, and it feels uncomfortable, it feels weird, it makes me feel awkward and strange, you know, because I don't like you knowing how I feel. Like, it's none of your business. Well, why do you need to know how I feel, you know? But especially in a romantic relationship, that doesn't fly. That doesn't really fly, you know? So I just really started like making myself do it. Like if I feel a certain type of way, I'm like, all right, I got to express this some way. I got to express it. And after a while, it's not uncomfortable. And I would imagine it's probably the same with the fire sign mouth, you know? It's just going to be really uncomfortable for a while. But if you keep forcing it and forcing it and forcing it, eventually it becomes habit. You know, it becomes habit after a while. And you just have to be willing to put up with the discomfort of biting your tongue for maybe 6 months. And then eventually you'll look back and you'll be like, hey, man, I just had like 10 opinions cross my mind that would have started a big fucking fight if I would have spit it out. And I didn't. I kept it to myself, and I don't feel uncomfortable. You know, I would imagine it's something like that, you know? Anything. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. If you, like whoever that was that just said that, okay? High five. You know what I mean? Fist bump. That's big. Identifying something as a character defect, the minute you begin to identify it, that's the first step. You know, I can't keep a lid on my mouth. It's a problem, and I identify it as a problem. Okay, so what do? I have to force myself to work on it, you know? I have to actually make myself bite my tongue, and it's so uncomfortable, and I hate it. I want to say this thing so bad. But after a while of repeating the same routine, over and over and over and over and over, eventually it becomes the new you. It becomes part of, and this right here is, look, whenever, especially we're taking big things that have almost everything to do with our astrological energies, you know, like I said, that's a big Aries thing. Not expressing your emotions is a big Aquarius thing. Whenever we start taking these things here and like, oh man, that's my sign. And I'm not using it as an excuse to justify my shitty behavior, but I'm gonna take control of it. That is when the entity that is you is vibrating higher than the energies that govern you, okay? The sovereign being that you are not an Aries. I am not an Aquarius. Okay, those are the energies that I was dealt when I was shat out onto this planet. So that's not me. That's not me. It's just like your vehicle. You know, when you're driving a vehicle, I am not this vehicle. This vehicle is just my tool that I'm using. It's the same thing. So whenever you begin to identify, okay, there's this thing that I do, and it's greatly influenced by my astrological energies. I've identified that, and I begin to step in and take control of it. That's when you vibrate higher than your energies. That's when, once you really get a handle on that, you begin to shift, okay? You begin to shift. We start out as people who our astrological energies are dragging us around, making decisions for us. And then the minute I begin to take control of that energy, I now vibrate higher than my sign, and I'm using that energy for the greater good. That's when we become more aware of how to use our signs and our energies for the greater good. You know, it's just really uncomfortable. Same thing, man, I'm telling you. And it's funny because right before we said that, Enchanted Cottage was talking about comfort zones. We got to get out of that comfort zone, man. It's the same thing. It's just like fitness. It's just like physical fitness, you know? I got these weak little arms. Man, how do I make these weak little arms bigger and stronger? You got to pick up that weight and just keep lifting it and lifting it and lifting it until it hurts so bad your arm fails. And then you let that heal up, you eat a bunch of protein, and then you do it again after it heals up. You lift and lift, and it's the same thing. It's out of your comfort zone. You are breaking out of the old paradigm, and you're taking control. And yeah. Anyway, I'm babbling. Getting a little bit hungry now. It is going to be time for me to get out of here in a couple of minutes. But I hope we talked about some things that can help people, that can help inspire people, that can help you take your power back, man. That's what it's all about here in my world. It's all about people taking their power back and taking control of their life, taking control of their life experiences, taking control of your own energy. And if I can help at least one person do that, my job is complete. Anyway, though, I am going to go ahead and get out of here, y'all. Thanks for tuning in and listening to me blab. This always wakes me up and gets me fired up for the day. So I'll see y'all later on doing something on my main channel, probably the weekly forecast. Anyway, y'all enjoy the rest of your day.